Hello viewers and welcome to part 3, preview part 3 on WRC 9, and we're going to be taking a little look at the career mode, the main career mode, as I set up my driver profile and then take you through the initial aspects of the game. I've cut out a couple of restarts and the loading times on this particular video so we can skip to the meat of the action, but either way there's a few restarts in there and a bit of learning as well. So the core thing is putting your name and details and choosing your difficulty settings, stuff like that. I figured let's just take it as default and go in there. Junior WRC or WRC3. What do I go for? I go for WRC3 because why not? May as well. And then away we go. We get stuck into the game and we start racing on our first circuit. And I couldn't remember any of this from last year. So, when it came to the career mode, I found it a sort of a mixed bag in the sense it was wonderfully thought out, but at the same time a little bit convoluted, and you could occasionally get a little bit lost. So we're going to go through this gradually and learn a bit about it. But first, a little bit of rallying. Just the first stage in this particular car. Again, you're going in cold. You don't really know how it handles, so it takes a bit of getting used to, and then gradually begins to click as we get towards the end of the stage. I think jumping out of the full WRC car, which I've been driving, going down to this car does take a little bit of getting used to, because it's an entirely different style to an extent. You're so much more aggressive now with the WRC cars at getting them into the corners, whereas here it's a little bit more finesse, and it's just obviously much slower and more approachable. So in that sense, straightforward for you all to get used to it. And then we are driving around the roads of Poland. I love this map. You know, it's so open, nice views and environments. I just enjoy driving around it. I enjoyed it when it's a stage in the game. It's a shame it's no longer used as a stage, but it's good that we've got this opportunity to explore it and work our way around. Now, last year obviously it took a bit of getting used to, getting into. But this year, I don't know if I'm going to run this one or run the standard sort of just the racing career, because I'm more of a racing guy. But I am going to run a bit more of this. If you have any questions, do let me know. Things you'd like me to investigate. I can't promise I will. Time is limited before launch, but certainly I will jump on and take a look at it and progress with this further. We do go some way into this. I think it's the first hour of gameplay for me. First hour and a bit is in this particular video. So completing that first stage, it's not perfect, it worked, and then we select a contract. So which team shall we go with? And I just thought, well, it's looking at specializations there and the objectives and the rallies that you're going to compete in. It's just a moment of having a bit of thought, looking at different rallies, and then I opt for the Volkswagen there. I think I do in just a moment. There we go. There we are. That's it, confirmed. So let's see what our commentator had to say as they take us through the game.
Welcome to the workshop. This is where you make race preparations, manage your crew, and organise your event calendar. As a professional driver, you must train regularly. The crew has developed different events for you. Go to your calendar to check them out. Use the calendar to select the different events you want to take part in. They will help you prepare for the official championship. To start, select the current week. Now select the event for this week. Then repeat this step for the following week. You have scheduled events for the next 2 weeks. You can now return to the workshop. You can now start the scheduled event.
Okay, so nice clear explanations as to guide you through. It all feels a bit more helpful this year, a bit more fluid in the process, and we get ready for our first test event and see how we get on. Let's also see what our commentator had to say here.
The This is a training event where each of the tracks loops around back to the start. You can do as many laps as you want to win the best medal possible.
And I do enjoy doing as many laps as I want. Just optimizing. I think I do a restart here as well, so a bit slower in, not using all the track as you can see, but just again you're in a car driving it for the first time, getting a feel for the surface. You know, where do I brake? I'm going much faster now into the first corner, so you're braking a bit earlier. You're trying different gears, you're trying different lines. A bit more daring this time. How aggressive can I be? Can I turn into the corner earlier, get tighter to those apexes? So, and now we just park up and we finish that particular run, and we're 700ths of a second off of where we need to be, which is quite frustrating. We can't have a silver. Come on, viewers, we have to do better than that. Let's go again. So going around for the second time, a bit tighter there, a bit too tight to the apex, but I know I want to be aggressive now. I want to use all the track. I'm stamping harder on the brakes, harder on the throttle, pushing the car through the corners. And you can hear the sound is louder this time as you're leaning through the dirt, using all the track now, more width. Again, getting in early to those corners to give you good drive on the exit, trying to straighten the car and over the line. Much better this time. So much better, a little bit more aggressive, and using all of the width of the track. Not a lot of improvement there, but you can see just enough to maximise it. And again, you guys will practice and no doubt knock another half a second or even second off for the top players.
You scheduled 2 events. You can now start the second.
So now starting the second part. Okay, so second event. Well, nice little view. Now many of you, of course, who have played WRC 8 will recognise these stages. I'd think that obviously detail-wise they seem to have given them a once-over, but it's just, for me, the driving sensation feels so much more fluid and natural. It felt good last year, but they've just joined the dots with the entering and exiting, the slide, feeling and the sound actually over the various gravel, depending on how hard and aggressively you're sliding. Obviously there's some aquaplaning when you go through that particular puddle there. Now I have been asked about the aquaplaning in general in rallies. I've not tested it yet, so I have no opinion on that. If you're hitting that much standing water, obviously your tyres are not going to deal with it going through water splashes, so it is going to move the car around. That's to be expected. And just again maximising my line and trying to be as aggressive as I can into these corners, making a mistake there, going too wide and just needing to find more time. So I think we're going to run this again now. I finished that there. I think right, that's the end of that round. I wasn't really parking there, as you know, just hitting pause. Let's go, let's restart. I just wasn't happy. Right, let's go again now. Let's get a bit more aggressive again. Pushing harder into the corners again. More power. More aggressive. Using the full width. Getting the car in early. Trying to hold on to that inside line all the way around. Really important so you can get onto the power. Push the car down the straight. Exiting the corner. This is the tricky corner. I think what it is that you've been through a couple of water splashes and it's just unbalances the car a little bit on entry. Better this time. Trying to drive through the corner, more progressive, using a little bit too much, but touching the wall, but running that better. And that concludes that run. So that's better. That's better. Let's go back now and find out what our next task is going to be. Learn more aspects of this one-player mode.
By taking part in events, you have earned skill points. Head over to the R&D area to use them. R&D is split into several branches that unlock as you progress through your career. You earn 1 R&D point to invest with each experience level that you unlock. Use 1 to unlock the meteorologist, who will be very useful throughout your driving career. You can unlock other professions as you progress. Now, return to the workshop. Now, head over to the crew management area. This is where you can manage your crew members. They are divided into 6 different professions. Each type of profession has its own specific skills. The skill level varies according to the rarity of the crew member. They also have a form gauge that decreases from event to event. To increase the physical form of a crew member, you can place them in the reserve or schedule a rest event. Use the recruitment interface to recruit a crew member, but be careful. Members offered are not available indefinitely. Now, assign a meteorologist to your active crew.
Okay, so this aspect seems a bit more straightforward than last year. Also working well on my wheel as well. So just setting up your crew, and I think it's just better explained as well.
A new event is available, an extreme conditions event. Now, return to the workshop. You can now start the scheduled event. This is an extreme conditions event. You're at the wheel of a severely damaged car in challenging weather conditions. You must drive as far as possible in the allotted time.
Okay, so onto one of these challenging events. This is something that always surprises me. It's so early in the game. I would have probably liked to have got really into the driving before running damaged cars like this, but the trouble is, as soon as you're into the rally, it just throws you into the deep end. So in that sense, there's a bit of experience that can be gained, i.e. go a bit slower. You can see the puddle there as well, which is nice. Completely changes the environment. I think I had a restart on this one as well. This was very tricky. The car was moving around a lot, wasn't easy to control, low visibility. You know, as I say, good practice. Much preferred driving it in the day, honestly. But either way, it's a good test for the co-driver as well. But I just struggled with the driving. This was a tough car to drive. It looks so easy here now, and I can tell you it's far from it. But let's see the next aspect of the one-player mode and how we move through.
You've just received an email. Go to the email menu to read it. Some emails will require an answer from you. Now that you're familiar with the email system, go back to the workshop. Now, let's take a look at your objectives. There are several types of objectives: season objectives and short-term objectives. Both types help to improve your relationship with the manufacturer. Your season objective is on the left. The objective will be set later when you reach the WRC category. On the right is your manufacturer reputation. It represents how good the relationship is between you and your manufacturer. The lower your manufacturer reputation, the greater the risk of being dropped from the team. Now that you have the basics, it's time for you to take part in your first rally. Now, head over to the crew management area.
Okay, just taking a moment to take it all in. Obviously first time playing the game, and as I say, I'm learning and listening as you guys are as well. But everything's very polished. Everything's had a bit of a spruce up. I'm just trying to decide which staff to take on board. Looking at various stats. It's very difficult to say on these early ones. I don't think there's a lot different to them. It's pretty standard stuff. I think it's going to grow more as you get into the game, and then everything gets more in depth.
This event is a rally, one of the rounds of the championship your team is taking part in. can now start the scheduled event. Welcome to the service park. This is where you can prepare before tackling a special stage. Some options will unlock as you progress through the championship. At the bottom of your screen, your meteorologist provides a weather forecast for the day of the current rally, together with an accuracy indication.
Okay, so service park again as it was last year. It's nicely detailed, nicely put together. I thought I'd have a little tour of the service park first while I'm here, just for the first time. And again, you get those nice little lighting effects as well, all very nicely detailed. I really appreciate all of this, you know, just giving you the real rally environment, just like what it is to be there when the weather is nice, of course. And so we go off now for our first proper rally and see how we get on. So away we go under the sign and on our way up the mountain on our first rally on WRC 9, the first of a long way to go. Now I'll probably restart my career when I do some live streams, so you can see me learning the courses in person and the many restarts it might take. As it happens, there was one restart to this. I think I drove the whole rally quicker than I did this time, but made one big mistake near the end. I thought, you know, I was leading by a mile, I'm going to do it again. And I do the handbrake turns all wrong this time, and last time I did them perfect, but I didn't make the big spin, so I thought, well, let's go with it. You only get 4 restarts, I think, on a rally. So, you know, if you jump the start, 10-second penalty, that's a restart. Very easy to do. I do find jump starts are something that I think you've got to be on a certain point of the sound. Otherwise, that rev goes in too soon. You get a penalty and it's all over for you. So, working our way up the mountain. And I ran this at the WRC esports competition Monte Carlo earlier this year, so we were running in the other direction. It's my first time running this stage at the time, so I was quite pleased with it. But this was a tricky section. You really do need to get the momentum in your handbrake. I find the handbrakes turns are always a little bit more tricky uphill. You just need to get your momentum just right. Getting into a handbrake corner, you need to slow right down. Don't take too much speed in. Just turn into the corner, 1/2 turn of the steering wheel, and then hit the handbrake, and the momentum will carry you round. It's very easy to get to a corner and not know what to do and think you need lots of steering input, but actually you don't. Generally, you just need to make sure that you're down through the gears, you're turning into the corner, and then you hit that handbrake there. Whereas you see, that was me making a mistake there. I think just because of my frustration was in my head of having to run the whole stage again after making the mistake, and I just wanted to get it done. So I'd spent about an hour and a half of driving at this stage. So working my way up the mountain, and again, nice detail there, building on what it was last year essentially. And not done. I couldn't remember that bit there. Whoops, that's a mistake. Wasn't really listening. I was visually looking there. That was a rally driver mistake. Don't do that. Listen to your co-driver. I do have the direction indicators turned on, but I don't use them, so I'll probably just turn them off on a future video. Conditions are good, nice and clear, so you do at least have a good view of the road ahead for the most part. Having said that, I go straight off, but there you go. You know what it is? It's because we've transitioned from tarmac to ice and snow, and suddenly you realise, wow, you know, depending on what setup I have and tyres, I have very, very low grip on this surface, so I have to slow right down, and I'm being a little bit aggressive. To be fair, I'm sort of being almost intentionally aggressive at times just to get to it as quick as I can. Time was limited in running this, and I've wanted to get it up on the channel for you guys. So trying to be measured with the power through here, but we've got a decent lead, so that's good. And gradually we're going to work our way down the mountain, slow into these corners. Again, just keep the momentum of the car. Very slow again. Momentum, that's it. There's no more speed to find in those hairpins. You know, the speed is in other areas. The speed is more on exiting the hairpin than entry. So if you get a hairpin completely wrong, you really will go off and lose a lot of time. So it's just not worth doing that. Then you have sections like this where the track begins to open up for you, and you know it's quicker, but there's still not great grip here, and you're going downhill, and you've got the weight transfer to consider. So bigger lifts, when you're going uphill, you can be much more aggressive on this section, but downhill you've got to be measured all the time. This is a tricky corner coming up. Again, early braking, downhill, get the speed down and get yourself into that corner. And I think again here, this was where I got a bit aggressive before, because I thought I'm right near the end of the stage. I know it's pretty quick, I'll go for it. And that happens. There we are, but I got away with it this time. It's funny, I made the same mistake 2 runs running. Last time it didn't work out for me. So managed to keep on going, didn't lose too much time there. And again, working our way down a bit further. Just trying to keep my head now. Don't make any mistakes now. Don't damage the car too much. Bound to have little bits of damage. Oh, a bit unbalanced, but managed to get away with it. And now we're on the final straight, as it were. And again, these are much quicker corners in the dry than when you've got some sort of ice and various tricky conditions. And that final corner was quite tricky as well. There's a little rock on the inside that can throw you. So that was the end of that stage, and now we're going to move on and take a look at the next section. So sunrise, beautiful views. Graphics are looking great, aren't they? I mean, really nice on these various settings. It's a cold and crisp winter morning, or I say in this region, of course. And like you say, little restart. There we go. I got a jump start there, so I thought let's use it. That's better. None of that, and we'll continue on this run back the way we came, and let's see if it's any different for us. Do we learn anything? So again, I feel that we can attack this section because it's uphill gradients. We have that first hairpin. Players can make mistakes there quite easily. Car can be unbalanced. But I'm enjoying the handling in this version a lot more. I feel that it's more fluid. It does mean that there's a lot more room for error in some respects. But other times it can mean that the car just slides in a way that's more natural and authentic as we work our way up the mountain through this tricky section. Now carrying a bit too much speed there, a bit unbalanced, lost time through that section. Needs slower, I need to be slow. I was carrying too much speed basically. Not too bad there. I'll tell you, we could have carried more speed through the apex, bogged down a bit on acceleration, but we're okay. Using the road there and the camber to get myself into these corners and carry as much speed through as possible. Tricky corner there as it narrows down, especially with the conditions changing all the time. And then suddenly the grip really goes. You've got to go really slow here. Can't push at all when you reach these sections. Get a lot of wheel spin, a lot of understeer, so let's get the car in nice and slow. This corner, I don't know why, I sort of have a mental block on it, but I usually struggle, but it seems like we've made it around this time. And into the sun, which blinds you temporarily. So I put my headlights on there just to help me see, because I couldn't see very well for a second. And just because of the shadow, that just illuminates my road ahead. Isn't that stunning to look at though? I mean, visually really nice. No doubt about it. Looks lovely. We see that nice sun shining effect and beautiful sky. You can practically breathe that clean mountain air, viewers. You can breathe that air as we work our way up. Again, too much speed carrying in. A bit slower. That's it. Hook the car around as we get up to the crest. And then begin the downhill run that we've just run, but the other way round. So we know we've got lots of handbrake turns to come onto the tarmac. Clear tarmac. You feel like you can carry more speed, but there isn't a lot of grip. It's still tricky. Downhill now, the handbrake works so much better when you're swinging it downhill. Just a bit more balanced. Again, they're being a bit more aggressive, trying to get a bit of time back, or pushing the limit a little bit there, but getting away with it, and down through the gears, managed to get the braking down and into this twisty section. Handbrake turn after handbrake turn. It's quite relentless through here, and they're very, very tight as well. So again, slow down, scrub your speed, half turn of the wheel, and then a bit of handbrake, and it hooks the rear around. It's using the weight of the car. You need some momentum. If you lose your momentum, you won't turn. So you really need to make sure it's just a little bit of speed. The car's rolling along, it's rolling into the corner, and that way the handbrake just helps that momentum. You know, people think you have to spin the wheel around. You don't. Half turn of wheel, and then handbrake, gently exit the corner, and that's the process you just need to get into. And it's identical to driving the real rally car. So it's literally, you could learn how to do handbrake turns in this, and you'll be able to step into a real car and do the same thing. You know, as long as you're using the right setup, as it were. But it should all work perfectly fine. Certainly, I was using my real life training to work, and it worked perfectly in terms of the physics and the momentum of the car. So, tricky stage. I've left the headlights on there just to illuminate my way ahead, especially with the sun blasting through. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nice to look at, but it can also hide some areas. But beautiful graphics. I think the graphics on the way down this mountain look very authentic. And you know, I kind of look forward to seeing as well where we're going with the next gen versions, where the effects are going to come into play. And it's looking pretty good now. Imagine in a few years' time, over a few bumps, being a bit aggressive through there. Am I pushing a bit too hard? Slight touch on the wall, I get away with that. I'm not hanging around. No, I'm getting a bit. I can feel it. I can feel I'm just going for it a bit more as we get down the mountain, trying to find some time. But the conditions are tricky. And there we are. That completes that stage.
Now that you've finished your first day, you have access to car repairs. This is where you choose which repairs to perform on your car. WRC rules limit the amount of time mechanics can work on the car to 45 minutes per day. Any repairs that exceed this time limit will result in a time penalty in the overall standings. Some parts can be repaired gradually, while others must be replaced entirely.
Okay, so a few slight repairs. I've left all that sort of set to automatic, and now we're going up a different part of the mountain now. And again, all of this has been made to run a bit more fluidly than it was before. It's running nice and smoothly, and it just felt nice and natural through here.
Into kinks, and crest into right 5, tightens, into left 5, 80. Caution,
Using a
right
little road.
into left 4 long,
I'm getting
tightens.
better. Also, you know, I mentioned earlier in the video, you know, I hadn't driven this car before. I say I hadn't driven it, not in this game, I'd driven it in last year's. And it took a bit of getting used to the nuances. Just in terms of the way it moved on its suspension, the grip, the weight, you know, it's just getting a feel for all of that really. And then you can be a little bit more aggressive, then you can throw into corners a little bit more and know when it sort of bounces where it's going to land, if you like. When you're first driving it, you don't know where you're going to come out when it spits you out on the end of an apex, you know, whereas now I know I can be more aggressive here or there, or get an idea of how it travels over some of the lumps and bumps. This car is quite heavily affected by bumps.
Left 4 short, into right 4, small cut,
And of
into
course,
left
you know,
3
the
short.
thing is, this is an entry level. I say you've got junior WRC, which is the full entry level, but it's always tricky. You know, there's no easy driving in rally.
Flat left and caution, danger over crest, junction, left 5, keep in.
I make a mistake here.
And right 5
No, I
short,
get
into
away
left
with it.
4 short, 50. Right 3
so
into left 3, 50.
I remember driving this section last year, but then forgot it all again. So
Left
I
5
loved
short, into
seeing
right
the
4
mountain
long,
and the
tighten
scale
3.
of some of the
Into flat
environments.
left, 30.
You know you're driving towards that mountain. You know you're going to be driving up that
Flat right and
mountain.
brake
Right?
into right
It's
4,
great
brake.
now how you've got this
And caution,
field of
right
view
2, brake for acute
which
hairpin
stretches
left,
for
50.
miles coming into the hairpin. That's it. Again, that was quite tricky to get some momentum, wasn't it? But it
And
worked
hairpin
okay.
right, don't cut, 80.
Again, driving up this mountain, nice and picturesque.
Left 3 short, into right 4 medium, tightens 3.
Concentrating on the
Into left 3
co-driver.
short, 20.
Co-driver calls for me have been on
Hard
point.
brake, left 4
Not had
tighten,
any
hairpin
issues.
left, 30. Right 4, keep into left 4, 50.
Again, making some progress. So
Left
lots
3
of concentration.
into right 4.
You can't think about
Into
anything
flat
but
left,
what your
narrows,
co-driver's telling you. The
Crest
grip
into right
is
4,
constantly
80,
changing, so you'll see bits of ice in the floor.
Square left, don't
None
cut,
of this is
into ridge,
easy.
into left
If
3
you're,
short, 30.
I mean, you can cruise a bit more. You could go a bit slower, and you'd be a bit cleaner
Right 4
than
long,
I'm driving.
tightens into left
I
4.
am sort of just putting my foot down and, you know,
And right 3,
trying to
20.
learn how to push limits here and there.
Left 3 over
My
crest,
current,
brake,
that doesn't
20.
mean, when I say my limit is not fastest in the world. You know, my limit is my limit. Everybody has their own limit. It's where you are with your experience with the car,
And right 5 short,
with the
into left 4,
stages.
short. Into
Every
right 3,
stage,
30.
just got a bit of ice under the wheel there, and then I think I beached myself, so I just respawned myself.
Into right 3,
Got a
30.
penalty.
Flat left,
It's just
tightens
again,
3,
that was a
short.
minor loss of concentration
And kinks over
where I
crest,
just
into right 3, into
didn't
left
quite
2,
turn
open.
into the corner right. I knew I'd made the mistake the second I'd done it.
And right 6,
Nearly doing it
30.
again there. I
Square
knew
right
I'd made a
over
mistake
ridge
the
and
second
right
I'd done it,
2.
but it was too late then. You've already committed to a certain
Into
point.
flat left.
That was a bit frustrating. I thought,
And
come
right
on,
3 short,
we can
into
still
left
win
4.
this. You know, we're
Into
3
right
seconds
5
behind now,
medium,
but
tightens
it's not
3
long.
narrows.
So I do push a little bit harder on this
And
final
left 3, into
part
right
of the
6,
rally.
narrows and left 5.
Trying to, again, the car's moving around a lot under me.
Short, into right 4
but I'm
short, 80.
putting the pedal
Left
to the
6
metal
short,
and just
over
going
crest,
for it
30.
now.
Acute hairpin left, 50.
And I don't know any, I couldn't remember any of this stage at this
Left 5
point. I was
tightens,
just
into right 6,
listening
very
to the
narrow, and
co-driver.
Right 4 short and left 5. Into hairpin right,
As I say,
don't cut,
even if you've
30,
driven it
over
last
crest.
year, it is quite different
right,
to
long.
come back to now with the different physics. And up
left
and
3
over the
long,
line. So
okay.
hopefully, I think coming around the final corner here, of course. Hopefully, I managed to close up that gap a little bit, and I think I did. And then we're on to the next stage. So I've just cut it to the next part of the rally.
20 hairpin
Now the
left,
good news
into
is
flat
I know
right,
this
tightens 4 short,
this stage pretty well. So downhill,
into left 4, narrows,
get
30.
into the groove, you know, braking early. It's quite steep here. Get the car in, nice handbrake turn on rotation.
Kinks,
This
30.
next section's actually one of the most tricky. There's a rock that juts out on the right, which we're going to come to. So you want to get around that close enough. Bit of braking, nice and early. Slide the car in. More time to lose than there is to find there. So take your time. Now committed. We're going to go flat. Let's see if we can go flat into the tunnel. Try and keep it committed if you can, then hit the brakes. Get the car in early, working well. Again, very early. Really want to nibble the apex there, and that's it. You can get good drive on the exit, aggressive drive on the exit, and you're just accelerating flat out of that tunnel all the way up here.
Left 5 short, 50.
And you're just feathering the throttle there. You can see in fourth,
Into right 6 tightens,
down into
30.
third. Make sure you're keeping control of the car, sliding into the corners. You're in control of the car. That's the most important thing here. Gradually accelerating all the way through here, but it's a gradual acceleration, not a flat acceleration before getting down, getting the car in early. Little touch on the wall there unbalanced me.
Into right 3
So I
narrows,
could
into
have
left
done
3
braking
and
about a
right 4,
metre
50.
earlier, but I'm not hanging around. I'm thinking, let's go for it. Again,
Right 4 short
close to those
into left 3,
apexes as
very long,
possible.
30.
And now another committed corner, opens up a lot on the exit, so we're still trying to put the power down, accelerate, accelerate, accelerate.
Flat right tightens 2,
And now
30.
down through the gears and a little bit of handbrake as well, just a hook, gets the car
Right
into
4,
this
keep into
corner
left 3
nicely.
short, into right 4.
When I say handbrake, just is a
Flat
minor
left 2
touch,
short,
just to get the car in.
into right 4,
And now this
into
is
left
one of
3
those
short,
sections that you can get into a nice
into right
rhythm
3
with.
short, keep into left 2.
Haven't driven this car on this particular
Into right 4
stage, and it
tightens
went
3,
wide
into
through
left
there,
2.
so it's not where I wanted to be. As soon as you're off
Into right
the
3,
crest
30.
of the road and you're on the wrong side, it does throw you off and you lose a lot of
Left
time.
3 tightens,
Again,
into
here,
right 3
slow in
short,
these sections. Try getting that
into
wheel on
past
the
Kings
inside,
over
both
crest,
sides.
50.
Time to be found,
Left 4
committed
tightens,
through
80.
there. And then I think we have a minor
Right
lift
3,
somewhere
keep into
there.
left 5
And
in
then
junction.
braking down, getting the car in early. Car understeers, always understeers through there.
Caution, flat
Almost
left,
lost it.
tightens 3 over
Could have
crest.
done with a bit more braking, getting the car in a little bit earlier.
Into
Again,
right
you're
3,
on the power and
tightens,
lifting.
50.
Again, a little lift, slide the car through there.
Flat left,
The
80.
WRC cars definitely slide better because
Hairpin
obviously a lot more
left,
power and
100.
performance. Braking early, downhill, low grip on the handbrake. Into this section, it's quite narrow, it's quite bumpy,
Right 6, 80.
easy to make mistakes.
Left
So
4 into right 4.
be alert through here. Slowing down, there's a wall on the left, you can hit that very easily, don't do that.
Caution, left 4 short
And
over
now,
crest,
again, a
into
little
right
bit of
4
lifting
tightens 3.
and accelerating on the dip. Again, the car can bounce off very easily, braking early. Car understeers through that section, off camber.
Caution, brake left 2 short into right
Again,
3, tightens.
into that inside, close to the wall,
Into
not
left
too
2
close. Off camber corners
Into
through
right 4
here,
tightens,
very
into left 2
tricky on the
short.
car. So you want to try.
flat
See, it
right
oversteered
20.
a little bit there
Right
as
3,
well,
don't
so I had
cut
to
and
make a
left
little
4, keep it
correction.
over crest.
That's kind of flustered me a little bit. I didn't feel very comfortable through that section.
right 5 short,
That wasn't me
hairpin
running
right
it well.
50.
Little lift over the crest. Car can fly off a little bit on that crest, so you've got to be careful.
Left
Sometimes a
4,
little
right 4.
lift. And you know, sometimes there's only 2 or 3 things you remember on a stage, and that's one of them
Left 5
is
short, don't cut, 80.
where am I likely to make a mistake, or
Left 2,
where
small
can I
cut
be more
over 20.
conservative yet not lose too much time. And sometimes, like if you were doing an
Left 5
esport
tightens
race
2 after
live,
junction, into
you
right
might
2, don't
you have to
cut.
go flat out in the final, but
Into
there
left
might be
2,
a stage
don't
where you
cut,
say,
narrows into flat
I know a
right,
lift
30.
there can help me get through it. And sometimes
Right
not
3
making
short, into
mistakes
left
is
4
just as
tightens.
important as going fast. That curve
right
on the
2,
left
into
can
left
be
3, don't
tricky,
cut, into
bumpy
right
through
2.
this section. The car's moving around more than I'm
left 5.
comfortable, so it went wide there. It was bumping a lot more, and I was having to go slower, and I was trying to keep the speed, but wasn't able to keep my momentum. So a lot of time lost through that section. Again, just not quite able to nibble the apex the way I would like with the suspension on this car.
Right 4, medium.
Getting in early here, car's going too wide, it's going too wide, and it's gone
left
too
6
wide
into
into the
right
wall.
5,
So that was
almost
a
50.
mistake. And so you need to watch it. Again, I wasn't able to put the car exactly where I wanted to. Downhill, turning early, that's it. And again, and that was a bit frustrating. I think I just got frustrated at that point, and I decided, oh well, it's over now. And I really thought I'd lost the rally. So I've lost my momentum at this stage,
Short 20, flat right into left 6,
and
narrows,
I'm a bit
150
frustrated. I
for
just
finish.
can't quite put this car. Oh, and a little touch on the inside. Oh, it's all gone pear-shaped towards the end of the rally. And there you go. A little bit of loss of concentration, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have to restart and do it again. Oh, well, I'm not, because I'm going to record the video and complete the rally. But luckily, I won anyway, because up until that point, I was quite a way ahead. So that worked out for me, and I enjoy that rally very much. That's good fun. I think I just needed a break. Sometimes when you've been driving, rallying for hours, and you're like, oh no, got to do it all again. But nice to do, and a nice little celebration sequence with the crowd there as well. Yay! So won that rally. It's always a good, feel-good feeling. I enjoyed that. You know, it's a great Monte Carlo. And a look at the various stats. So great result for the team all round. Objectives met, morale up on the team. We got some decent experience and some cash as well. But there were damages incurred on the car, so I'll now have to go through that on my email and move on to the next part of the tutorial process. And again, we'll hear from our commentator. I think it's one of the last times. We've got 2 more times of commentary in this video. Let's see what she had to say in directing us on the next part.
A new event is available, a manufacturer tryout in which you can boost your reputation. The higher your reputation with a manufacturer, the greater your chances of receiving a contract from them.
So going through the various costs incurred, running your own business is always tricky, and as I say, the automotive industry is always very expensive for the people involved, all the elements. I mean, even for teams up and down the grid, as it were, they're always putting in very high levels of investment, and you see it on this particular map. I was just looking here at the various different attributes. I thought I'd take a few minutes to just take it all in. And there is a long way to go. So, I mean, bearing in mind that I've already been playing it for, I think, about an hour and a half at this point, because I'd had a few restarts and just been doing some various different runs. There's a long way to go in building your journey through WRC 9. I'm just looking at various different elements and spending my points that I've earned. What to go for? Not enough for that. So deciding on the physio. Always important for the morale and fitness of your driver as well, and your team. And a new engineer. And all of this is about building your team up. As I say, that maybe I can get a better tuned rally car, then I can get a bit more out of it. So I think the mistakes are there in terms of when you're going from car to car and getting used to, you can't drive the limits if you don't understand the car fully under you. So now I'm looking at what's next on the calendar, and another manufacturer tryout. This time I believe we're off to Germany, and we need to travel as far as we can.
Start the scheduled event.
So let's proceed to that and see how we get on.
In a manufacturer tryout, you race with a loan car and must cover as much distance as possible in the allotted time.
So away we go then in Germany. A rally I've always struggled with. Obviously the rally's been cancelled this year, which is a bit of a shame. I can imagine fans will be very disappointed. There's always such enthusiastic fans in Germany for rally. It's great to see, tons of fans there. And it's such a shame it's not going to happen this year, but either way we can run it in the game. It's narrow, it's committed, it's fast. This is an all-round tricky rally. I think one of the elements I struggled with most is actually when we go into the trees in a moment, and just general visibility in the shadows again. I just found that, I don't know if I put my headlights on, but I found the visibility of where I'm going. I'm listening to the co-driver because I don't know this stage at all. So again, I'm just listening to the co-driver, trying to put it together. A bit slow on that corner. Could have done with braking a bit earlier. A lot of speed to find. And back out into the open. Oh. Car losing it a little bit there, but managing to get it back. Again, look at those views for miles and miles of German countryside. But managing to keep it together. These over crest blind corners are tricky. You need to commit, but when you know the rally, you can get so much more time when you know when to use that little gully to hook your wheel into. Hook it at the right times, it's great. Hook it at the wrong times and it can be a real problem. Same with the curbing, it can do a lot of damage, I guess, to your car as well. So got to be tricky through there.
And crest into hairpin right, small cut, and flat left cut into kinks over 120.
Maximising the speed through there. Still not hanging around. I mean, I'm going as fast as I can, given that I don't know what's coming up.
Crest into right 4,
And that's
short.
it. We've managed to complete the event. Obviously, there was more ground to be covered to reach the absolute finish. So it shows how tricky it is. I mean, I wasn't hanging around there, but you've got to nail it if you think you're going to make it all the way. And so that concludes this look at part 1 of my career. I'm deciding at the moment whether I'm going to run the career just in a couple of videos here or actually run it on streams nearer to launch. Do let me know in your questions and feedback that you have. Helpful for the developers as well in terms of the first game, but it does seem like they've worked to make it more straightforward. They say there's various improvements and tweaks, and everything's just generally got a lot more polish to it, and I'm looking forward to diving in and running a full rally career this time on WRC 9. So certainly there'll be a lot more coverage because I'm enjoying it and I like where they've gone with it, and I look forward to delving more into it and testing out the new rally stages, talking of which I will be checking out the new rallies and new rally stages on the upcoming videos. But I hope you've enjoyed this run through the first part of the career. Do like and subscribe, it supports what we do. Do share the videos as well. Do support our become YouTube members and Patreons if you like what we put onto, what I put onto the channel and all that kind of stuff. But that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon. Thanks for watching today, viewers. I hope you enjoyed the video, and do like and subscribe. It supports what we do. You can go to the website directly above me here, or check out a couple of other videos on the channel, perhaps things you're interested in terms of racing games, whether it be new or retro. It's all there. Check them out.